Hola and welcome to ProSpanish. We're going to start straight away so you can see just how quickly and easily you can learn to speak Spanish. For the more advanced subscribers, you may want to skip to the time frame that comes up now on the screen. Otherwise, stay with us for the extra practice. Begin with some weather. Later on, this will feed into more structures for conversational purposes, but for the moment, we're going to look at the weather's good and the weather's bad, or the weather's nice and the weather's not nice. So, hace buen tiempo, the weather's good. Hace buen tiempo. Hace mal tiempo, the weather's bad. Hace mal tiempo. And it's important to stress that you don't need to work at trying to remember this now. Just follow exactly what I'm asking you to do, and that will be enough. So I'll do the heavy lifting in terms of getting you to remember it, but you don't need to worry or think about, I should be trying to remember this. Okay? So, hace buen tiempo, the weather's good. Hace mal tiempo, the weather's bad. And now we're going to add the word for if. If is si, exactly the same as the word for yes. So yes and if they sound exactly the same, just that when it's yes, it has an accent on the I. Otherwise it doesn't when it's if. So si is if. How would you say if the weather's bad? What do you think that would be if the weather's bad? Si hace mal tiempo. Si hace mal tiempo. If the weather's bad. If you didn't manage to answer that, that's okay. You'll get it later. So now let's have a look at what I'm going to do, what we're going to do if the weather is good or bad. So, I'm going to is voy a. Voy a, I'm going to. And we could quite easily make that a negative, I'm not going to, by saying no voy a. So we just put not at the beginning to say I'm not going to. So voy a, I'm going to. No voy a, I'm not going to. Again, don't panic if you can't remember all this. And let's also have we're going to. Vamos a. Vamos is we're going to. And so we're not going to, the negative, no vamos a. No vamos a. So, I'm going to, voy a. I'm not going to, no voy a. We're going to, vamos a. We're not going to, no vamos a. And what are we going to do? So we've got to go to the beach, ir a la playa. La playa is the beach. Ir a la playa. To go to the beach. Ir a is to go to. La playa, the beach. To go to the beach. Ir a la piscina. To go to the pool. Ir a la piscina, to go to the pool. And a nice easy one, ir a Madrid, to go to Madrid. Ir a Madrid. So ir, ir is to go. So what do you think it would be if we were saying, I'm going to go to Madrid? What would that be? I'm going to go to Madrid. Voy a ir a Madrid. Voy a ir a Madrid. I'm going to go to Madrid. Okay, now looking at the grid, just listen, follow with your eyes, or if you've got a tablet, follow with your fingers, along the columns, so that you identify the sentence that's being said, and have a think about what that means. You'll hear it twice. Okay. Si hace mal tiempo, voy a ir a Madrid. Si hace mal tiempo, voy a ir a Madrid. And that was, if the weather's bad, I'm going to go to Madrid. Si hace buen tiempo, vamos a ir a la piscina. Si hace buen tiempo, vamos a ir a la piscina. So if the weather is good, we're going to go to the pool. Si hace buen tiempo, no vamos a ir a Madrid. Si hace buen tiempo, no vamos a ir a Madrid. If the weather's good, we're not going to go to Madrid. Okay, one more. Si hace mal tiempo, no voy a ir a la playa. Si hace mal tiempo, no voy a ir a la playa. If the weather's bad, I'm not going to go to the beach. Okay, next, we're going to do some pyramid listening. So listen to how the phrase grows, and the first part will be repeated as it grows, and try to identify what is being said. Si. Si hace buen tiempo. Si hace buen tiempo, voy a. Si hace buen tiempo, voy a ir a Madrid. And let's look at that last one again. Si hace buen tiempo, voy a ir a Madrid. Okay, let's try another one. Si. Si hace mal tiempo, si hace mal tiempo, no vamos a. Si hace mal tiempo, no vamos a ir a la playa. Si hace mal tiempo, no vamos a ir a la playa. Okay, one more. Si. Si hace buen tiempo. Si hace buen tiempo, vamos a. Si hace buen tiempo, vamos a ir a la piscina. And the last bit again. Si hace buen tiempo, vamos a ir a la piscina. Okay, let's take the first one and let's try to go backwards. So we have the final English part, so if it's good weather. So let's try to build that up now in Spanish. So we start off with if, si. Then what would it be? Si hace buen tiempo. Next. Si hace buen tiempo, voy a. Next. Si hace buen tiempo, voy a ir a Madrid. And that last phrase again. Si hace buen tiempo, voy a ir a Madrid. And let's try one more of those the last one that we did. So we start off with if, which is si. And next, si hace buen tiempo. Next, si hace buen tiempo, vamos a. Next, si hace buen tiempo, vamos a ir a la piscina. And let's do that again. Si hace buen tiempo, vamos a ir a la piscina. We'll just take a brief pause there while I mention our very popular Levels 1 to 6 course, available exclusively from ProSpanish.co.uk. And this course takes the complete beginner or near beginner right up to a conversational level of Spanish in a series of easy-to-follow steps. And it's worth adding that the videos here on this YouTube channel, they're all supplementary to the core course, which is the step-by-step Levels 1 to 6 course. Okay, let's go back to our grid and we may add a few things in. So, if you can, make these sentences looking away from the grid, but obviously it's absolutely fine to look at the grid or have a little peek if you've forgotten some of the vocabulary. So how would you say, if the weather's good, I'm going to go to Madrid? What would that be? Si hace buen tiempo, voy a ir a Madrid. Si hace buen tiempo, voy a ir a Madrid. How about, if the weather's bad, I'm not going to go to the beach. Si hace mal tiempo, no voy a ir a la playa. Si hace mal tiempo, no voy a ir a la playa. Now, the word for tomorrow is mañana. Mañana. So tomorrow is mañana. How would you say, I'm going to go to Madrid tomorrow? What would that be? Voy a ir a Madrid mañana. Voy a ir a Madrid mañana. How about, we're going to go to the beach tomorrow? What would that be? Vamos a ir a la playa mañana. Vamos a ir a la playa mañana. How about, we're going to go to the swimming pool tomorrow if the weather's good. So I've kind of swapped it around, because before we were saying if the weather is good, but it's just the same words, but we're just putting it towards the end. So our long phrase is, we're going to go to the swimming pool tomorrow if the weather's good. What would that be? Vamos a ir a la piscina mañana si hace buen tiempo. Vamos a ir a la piscina mañana si hace buen tiempo. How about we're going to go to Barcelona tomorrow if the weather's bad. So we're going to go to Barcelona tomorrow if the weather's bad. What would that be? Vamos a ir a Barcelona mañana si hace mal tiempo. Vamos a ir a Barcelona mañana si hace mal tiempo. And just a quick reminder before we move on to the more advanced part of this video. As mentioned earlier, the quickest way to get from beginner to conversational Spanish is the levels 1 to 6 ProSpanish course, available exclusively for download from prospanish.co.uk. Okay, let's start off with I would have. I would have is habría, habría. And we would have, habríamos, habríamos. So I would have, habría. We would have, habríamos. And as I mentioned in the first part of this video, don't worry too much about trying to memorize this. You will pick it up and you will retain it as we go. So habría, I would have, and habríamos, we would have. Habría, habríamos. And let's have some verb phrases to go with that. So ganado más dinero, ganado más dinero. So earned or earned more money. And this next one is waited for the train. Esperado el tren. But if you notice, there isn't a word there for, to wait for something. So the more literal translation would be awaited. I would have awaited the train. So esperado el tren, awaited the train, because we don't say to wait for using the word for in there. Cogido un taxi. Cogido un taxi. Caught a taxi. So we would have caught a taxi, for example. Cogido un taxi. Dicho algo. Dicho algo is said something. Dicho algo, said something. And then pedido otro. Pedido otro. Otro is other or another. Another. So pedido otro is ordered another one. Ordered another one. And antes, you may have seen antes used with before. Here it will be used as earlier. So antes, earlier. And then en vez de eso. En vez de eso is instead of that. Eso is that. En vez de eso, instead of that. And of course, we would have no as well, so that we can make all of these into negatives. No habría, no habríamos. And to get ourselves better acquainted with this language, just listen and follow along the columns as the sentence is being said, and try to work out what it means. So I'll say it twice. And it won't always be all of the columns. Habría cogido un taxi antes. Habría cogido un taxi antes. I would have caught a taxi earlier. Habríamos ganado más dinero. Habríamos ganado más dinero. We would have earned more money. Habría pedido otro en vez de eso. Habría pedido otro en vez de eso. I would have ordered another or another one instead of that. Habría esperado el tren. Habría esperado el tren. I would have waited for or awaited the train. No habríamos cogido un taxi. No habríamos cogido un taxi. We wouldn't have caught a taxi. Habría dicho algo. Habría dicho algo. I would have said something. Okay, this next phase is very useful. It's called delayed dictation. And we're going to start by this next phase is a very useful exercise. Let's just have a quick look at the sentence. Habría cogido un taxi en vez de eso. I would have caught a taxi instead of that. So instead or instead of that. We'd probably just say instead, but in Spanish you have to say en vez de eso, instead of that. Okay, study the Spanish sentence. Try to hold it in your head, and you're going to have until the bullfighter reaches the torero. So try not to get distracted by the toro, by the bull. Just focus on trying to keep that sentence in your head. Okay, and we'll just have a quick distraction, counting up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and now, can you remember how to say, I would have caught a taxi instead of that? If you're at home, it's really good to write this down now in Spanish, but if not, just say it in your head or say it out loud. So what would that be? Habría cogido un taxi en vez de eso. Habría cogido un taxi en vez de eso. So that's what we had. Okay, let's look at the next one. So, no habríamos pedido otro. We wouldn't have ordered another one. No habríamos pedido otro. So again, just really focus on getting that into your head, that phrase. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just doing that so that we've got a little bit of a gap in between you saying it and the last one, so you're going to test your memory a little bit more. So how would we say we wouldn't have ordered another one? What would that be? No habríamos pedido otro. No habríamos pedido otro. And that's what it was. No habríamos pedido otro. Okay, last one. There's a long one. No habría esperado el tren. Habría cogido un taxi. So I wouldn't have awaited the train. I would have caught a taxi. So again, and as it's a long one, I'll give Bully another run. Bien, and a quick distraction. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, how would we say I wouldn't have awaited the train, I would have caught a taxi. What would that be? No habría esperado el tren. Habría cogido un taxi. No habría esperado el tren. Habría cogido un taxi. Okay, let's go back to the original grid. If you are able to, then try to say these phrases without looking, but if not, then just use the grid for some support. Okay, how would you say we would have said something? Habríamos dicho algo. Habríamos dicho algo. How about we would have caught a taxi earlier? What would that be? Habríamos cogido un taxi antes. Habríamos cogido un taxi antes. How about instead of that, I would have waited for the train. So the other way around this time. We're starting with instead of that, I would have waited for the train. En vez de eso, habría esperado el tren. En vez de eso, habría esperado el tren. And sometimes if you want to emphasize somebody did this, but I, emphasizing the I, in that case we do use the pronoun yo. So we could say, en vez de eso, yo habría esperado el tren. But it's just a case of emphasis. Okay, how about we wouldn't have earned more money? No habríamos ganado más dinero. No habríamos ganado más dinero. And that concludes today's ProSpanish lesson. As mentioned earlier, if looking to become a confident and a competent speaker of Spanish, head over to prospanish.co.uk, where you can download the full Levels 1 to 6 course.